we came from a fortunate point of departure in terms of building consensus. The Danish energy policy derives back to 1976. You also mentioned that, where you had the first sort of energy plan for Denmark. At that time, we were 100% dependent on oil imports. We had a national energy crisis where oil prices quadrupled, 4 times basically overnight. At that time, back in 73, 74, we had what we call car-free Sundays. People were not allowed to drive their own cars every Sunday. And that was a measure to try to reduce our dependence on imported oil. So all that created an awareness in the general population about this issue here. It did not come from climate change. The issue was not sustainable development. Those concepts didn't exist back then. It was purely out of a national security perspective. So we came up with this energy plan where we were focusing on natural gas, district heating, energy efficiency, wind energy and nuclear. Those were the sort of the ideas on the table at that time. Nuclear was abandoned, as you said, in 1985, basically out of safety concerns. In 1979, you had this 3 Mile Island incident in the US, and that developed a lot of concern about safety of nuclear in Denmark. So it was basically taken off the table. The first energy plan started this tradition for energy planning, and that has given the industry a long-term direction. It has basically provided demands, targets by the politicians, and then it was up to the private sector to deliver on those targets. Oftentimes the targets were set actually completely impossible based on the technology available at the time, but that created an incentive for private sector to develop state-of-the-art solutions that could help the government achieve the targets. And then after that had been done, these companies were ready to start export their solutions. That has been done in energy. We also done it in water. Very ambitious targets, impossible targets, but creating incentives, creating a platform, creating a framework for companies to start doing research and development into this area here. And I think in the general population, first of all, I think there's a very widespread pride of going green. It's something very important to the population. But people have also seen that it's good business. Yes. That these incentives, creating these tough targets, have put the Danish companies also very much ahead of the curve in terms of technologies and solutions, creating jobs, creating exports. Copenhagen has the goal of being the first carbon neutral capital city in the world by 2025. It's just 5 years from now, carbon neutral. And this was anonymously approved by the city council across all the parties. And again, of course, that reflects the population will in terms of going green. Again, it's something we want to be proud of. It comes at a cost, yes, it's expensive. Copenhagen is going to install wind turbines around the city and so on to live up to these targets here, but it's something people are sort of have embraced and want to pursue. Of course, to do that, you need to have the population backing. You also need to have, for example, stable electricity in the outlets. If the electricity is out when it's not windy or something, if that happens too often, then people will start to question it. But we have, I think, only blackouts about 0.003% of the time. That's about 15 minutes per year, where you don't have electricity in the plot. And we have also had good incentives in the population. I mean, of course, there's been concerns about putting up wind turbines right next to your home, and how does it affect you, and does it affect the lightning, sort of flashing and so on. There the government has created, first of all, compensation packages that will compensate people for the damages that they experience, and maybe the house will lose value or something like that. At the same time, they also created schemes that allow local citizens to actually take part ownership in small wind farms. And that kind of incentive has been very strong also. Tax schemes, incentives for investing into wind turbines and so on. That has proven quite strong in the first generation setup of wind turbines in Denmark onshore. But it is still an issue. I mean, we have this offshore wind test site in Copenhagen, where there are still discussions about whether about the neighbors and so on, how are they impacted by this. But of course, that's also very, very large wind turbines. There you put offshore wind turbines on land. So you have 8-10 megawatt huge installations. That has been very successful as a site also, I believe, that turbine developers are from around the world are putting up their turbines there to test them. It's a very, very unique site. But again, it showed the government commitment to be ahead of the curve. We've done tremendously well on the onshore, and now we need to move ahead on the offshore also, because onshore is becoming sort of more mainstream technology. People recognize it has created a lot of jobs, a lot of exports, and it's an area that just makes us feel good. So it's a feel-good story. And when we talk about new sort of like we're going to have a new industry in Denmark, they always talk about the wind fairy tale, that we want to repeat that one. I think we have a good story.